Hello everybody, welcome to the studio. Hopefully you're all having amazing creative days. So if you just picked up a Canon camera, today we're going to be using the R5 Mark II, but I'm sure that this menu setting will apply across all Canon cameras eventually. But if you just picked up a Canon camera and you're looking at the file formats for video and you're like, what is this word salad? What are these numbers, these letters, HEVC 422, 10-bit, XE, like what does it even mean? These are like Egyptian hieroglyphs. I got no clue what it means. If that's you, then this video is for you because I'm gonna teach you how to decode this word salad and turn it into something that you can understand so that you can pick the right file format for your video project and your videos can look good instead of looking like crap, because the R5 Mark II is an absolutely amazing camera. And yeah, so I'm gonna teach you how to understand it. So with that being said, let's get into it. All right, so the first video format we have in the Canon menu is RAW. So what is RAW? Well, if you shoot photos and you understand the difference between shooting a RAW photo and a JPEG, same kind of thing here on the video side. Basically, the camera captures all the footage, all the details, everything it captures on the sensor, puts it in a RAW file, and you put it on your computer, and then you can edit it. And it gives you tons of latitude. So you can color grade, you can change the exposure, the color temperature, you can do all sorts of things in post, which you otherwise couldn't do in any other format. So it gives you a ton of room to play if that's what you're into. And it's also the best file format for the best quality video. On the downside though, RAW files are huge. So you're gonna need a graphics card that's really powerful to process the RAWs, and you're gonna need terabytes upon terabytes upon terabytes of space to store all your video footage. So, you know, those are the pros and cons, but if you can shoot RAW and you want the best quality video, RAW is for you. Now, let's move on to this word salad, and I'll teach you how to decode all this stuff. Okay, so now let's move on to the next thing. We have this section here, and we've just got a bunch of numbers and letters, and what does it all even mean? And as I was scripting this video, I was gonna teach you what all four of these different video formats do, but then I realized, you know what? It'd be better if I taught you how to decode them. I'll teach you how to read them. I'll teach you what all these different sections mean, all these different numbers mean, so that if you pick up a Sony camera, a Fuji camera, you pick up a cinema camera, you can just pick it up and you can check out these file formats because they're pretty much standard across the whole video industry. So you can pick up any camera, read it, understand what the video formats mean, and then start using that camera without being like, what is 420? I don't understand this. But yeah, so let's get into it. Let's decode this word salad so that you guys can understand what all this even means. So each video format type can be broken down into four parts, and the first part is the container. So here we have XF, as you can see on these video formats. To keep things simple, XF is Canon's professional broadcast quality container that contains a lot of metadata and is optimized for professional video editing. I'm going to oversimplify a lot of the explanations here so we can move through things fast, but if you want a more detailed explanation, definitely check out the blog post linked in the description, and I will go through everything with a lot more detail. So if you want to learn the ins and outs and all the little details, definitely check out the blog after you watch this video. So the next part of the name is the codec. So we have HEVC and AVC. So those are the codecs. Those are the compression formats of the video. So HEVC is the newer standard. It stands for high efficiency video coding and is H.265. So it's got a greater compression. AVC, on the other hand, is the older compression format, and it stands for Advanced Video Coding, and it's H.264. So what's the difference? The H.264 it compresses the video file. So basically, like when you're recording stuff with your camera, it sees the world and converts everything into ones and zeros, ones and zeros, ones and zeros, right? And then when you pop your video file onto your computer, the computer has to decode those ones and zeros and turn it into a visual representation, your video, right? So H.265 and H.264 are the compression types. H.264 or AVC, am I saying it right? Yeah, AVC, even I get confused, compresses things a little bit, well, compresses things quite a bit actually, and then your computer has to decode that and turn it back into video. H.265 or HEVC compresses things a lot more, but it's more taxing on your computer because your computer now has to decode all of that. So when it's more compressed, you have a smaller file size, meaning you can get more video on your memory card. H.264, bigger file size, but easier for your computer to decode. So depending on your computer, your video card, and the processing ability and all that stuff, you would pick either one or the other. So if you have a new computer, I would go with the HEVC H.265 format. And if you're running an older machine that's struggling to render or scrub through your timeline, I would go with the older AVC codec. So there you go. Now you know, first part is the container, second part is the codec. Okay, so after the codec, you might see an S. Now, if you're using a cinema camera, you'll probably have options without the S, but if you're using a mirrorless camera, you'll probably have the S. So what does that S stand for? So according to Google, the S stands for Standard Consumer Optimized, meaning that the codec has been optimized for efficiency and some of the metadata in the file has been removed to keep file sizes smaller. So basically, stuff that you don't need has been taken out of the metadata to optimize the files to be smaller. Now, in professional cinema cameras, you might have the non-S version, which captures more metadata for specific reasons dealing with creating cinemas and movies or cinema videos and more high-end videos, basically is what I'm trying to say. So in Canon, you can see all these file or video formats all have S's, so they've all been optimized to be a little bit smaller and more compact. There you go, now you know. All right, so now we move to the part of the name that's the most interesting. This is the color science. So we have the Chroma subsampling and bit depth. So this will tell you what kind of colors you're gonna get out of your video and how much you can color grade these colors and how far you can push these colors before your video starts to fall apart. So let's break it down, because this is the part that's probably the most important. Everything we talked about before this, it's good to know, but this is the important stuff. So we have YCC, and that refers to the color space. So you can see all these video formats are YCC. So they all have the same color space, which is a good thing. You don't have to fuss around with picking a color space. Next up, we have these numbers, 422 and 420. So usually they're represented with colons in between, so you'll see 422 and 420. And what is the difference between these two? Basically, it's how the camera compresses colors or analyzes colors. So 420 will capture less colors than 422. So basically 420, let's say you're shooting a bushel of apples, right? So there's a bunch of red color tones that are very similar. So the camera will process it like saying, okay, so this group of color tones is very similar, so let's just group them all together as one color tone. All these greens are very similar, so let's group that as one color tone, and this section here with greens is very similar, so let's group that together. So that's how it's more efficient and creates a smaller file size by compressing colors. But the problem with that is there isn't really a problem. It just depends on use case scenario. So if you're recording in 420, you're gonna get a smaller file size. But if you're just quickly editing something and throwing it up on Instagram or YouTube, you're making a short or something like that, it doesn't matter because you're not doing a lot of color grading. But if you plan on doing a lot of color grading, things will start falling apart and you'll start seeing blotches of colors or blocks of colors because the camera has taken this color information and said, all these tones are so similar, it's just one color. So you won't get a smooth gradation between, let's say the sky, for example. If you're recording in 420 and you put too much of a color grade on the sky, you'll get blotches everywhere. So it'll be like this patch of blue, this patch of blue, this patch of blue, this patch of blue, and it looks really awful. So you push those colors too far and the video footage fell apart. Whereas 422, for example, captures a lot more color information, a lot more tones in the colors. So if you want to push and pull things in post and color grade and bring up the lights or the darks or the shadows, your footage isn't going to fall apart. So this is what my footage looks like right out of camera, and this is what it looks like with my color grade. So why would you even want to color grade your footage? Basically, to differentiate yourself or create a mood, create a feel. If you're making short films or movies, like think of Dune, for example. The color grading in there is very like orangey, browny, chocolatey, and it creates a certain mood, right? Matrix, another movie that has a very distinct color tone. So as a content creator, as somebody who creates stuff on the social media space, there's tons of people out there. So you want to differentiate your style from everyone else's, so you create a color grade. So that's the advantage of color grading. So that's 422 versus 420. And now we go to the next part, and the end of this sequence is the bit depth. So you have 8 bits, 10 bits, and like we talked about earlier with the raw files, you get 12 bit. Now the more bits you have, the more colors you have. Like think back to those old Nintendos. You had 8-bit color, you had 8 colors, right? Now we can get way more colors, and the higher the bit depth, the bigger the file size, but the more colors you can capture. And there was a really good saying here, to oversimplify, Chroma subsampling, the 422-420, affects how much color detail is sampled, and bit depth affects how precisely that color detail is captured. So the higher the bit depth, the more precise your colors are and the more colors you get. So that's just something to think about. So basically the two best settings here on the R5 are the ones that say 422 10-bit. And then obviously the best is RAW, and then you get the 422 10-bit, and then the 8-bit at the bottom is the worst quality video, but that's for just quick and dirty, like behind the scenes, quick capture, something you're just gonna capture on your camera, transfer to your phone, throw it on Instagram without editing. You can shoot that smaller file size at the bottom. So now you know, there you go. So now you can take a look at these file formats, these names, and you can decode it yourself. You understand that this is the container, this is the codec, you have the S, or the compression of the codec, then you have the color space, then you have chroma sampling, and then you have the bit depth. So that's these names in a nutshell. Now you understand how to decode them and understand what all these letters and numbers mean. All right, so I want to share with you a pro tip, something I learned the hard way, but before we get into that, I just want to say, hopefully you understand everything we went through. It's a little bit complicated, but if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll be happy to get back to you. And for those of you who understood it and you want more information, definitely check out the blog post linked in the description as well. And I'm going to go into more detail about all the different settings and stuff like that. So if you're the type of person who wants to know more, definitely check out the blog post. Now let me share with you a pro tip and something I learned the hard way. When I bought my first CF Express card, I just bought a 128 gig. I didn't want anything too big. I was like, yeah, you know, I don't need anything too big. And the thing I didn't know, and I learned the hard way, is that as these cards ingest data, as they're being used, they heat up. And as they heat up, they slow down. And depending on the video format settings that you're using, these cards can slow down to the point where recording stops because they can't ingest data fast enough. So the trick and the workaround is get a bigger CF Express card. Get a 500, what am I using? 512. So I'm using an Angelbird 512 gigabyte card and it hasn't failed me yet. It just keeps going. On the other hand, this SanDisk, you know, Extreme Pro 120, I'm gonna have to get B-roll, 8 gig card. It slowed down a few times as I was recording and video recording stopped. So definitely get a bigger CF Express card. Angelbird is a brand I trust. I've been using them for like 5-6 years now and the cards never fail me. I'll put links to that also in the description, affiliate links. So if you want to help out the channel, pick up a card. Thank you very much in advance. So with all that being said, let's close out the video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. If you like this kind of content, definitely subscribe for more. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments down below. And yeah, we do photography, videography talk on this channel, talk about camera gear, talk about photo shoots, all sorts of things. So if that's what you're into, definitely subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. See you in the next one.